Hello everyone. For various reasons, I'm going to have to keep it very quick today. So let's get started right now. Okay, so the first highlight from today 7.5 lessons about the brain. Here's how abstraction works. As your brain compresses data from all your senses, it integrates them into a cohesive whole, an activity that we previously called sensory integration. Each time one of your neurons compress its inputs to make a summary, that multisensory summary is an abstraction of the inputs. At the front of the brain, the largest, most highly connected neurons produce your most abstract multisensory summaries. That's why you can view dissimilar objects like flowers and gold watches as similar and view an identical cup of wine as either celebratory or sacred. So it basically talks about, it's not, I mean, um, we don't see things as collection of pixels. We see things, we collect information about each item through multiple senses, and our brain abstracts them. There is a diagram in the book which kind of shows this. By the way, the diagram looks incredibly similar to neural networks if you are familiar with machine learning. So yeah, the point here is that the brain produces an abstraction. It's not really seeing something as a collection of pixels, but a series of abstractions, which is why we can distinguish context between different things. Like the example over here, identical cup of wine as either celebratory or sacred, or dissimilar objects like flowers and gold watches as celebratory. Brains deal with abstraction. That's essentially the point here. Let's move on. Again, from 7.5 lessons about the brain. What we call mental illness, what we call mental illnesses, then may be rational body budgeting for the short term that's out of sync with the immediate environment, the needs of other people, or your own best interests down the road. We're talking about a different kind of mental illnesses, and it's really a brain's way of budgeting. Depending on how the brain is understanding various things, it's really its way of understanding that. Like, what does it need to prioritize on, and how does it need to, like, what signals does it need to send to the rest of the bodies to. Oh, I just realized I did not switch on the uh, screen highlight. But again, like, I'm short on time today, so I'm just going to continue with this. If you want to read the previous one highlight, I'm just going to keep this over here for a second. You can pause and go through it, and I'll be back with this for now. So um yeah, so the mental illnesses, it's the brain's way of dealing with how it understands the different how it understands its environment, and what are the best actions it needs to take so that it can budget the body resources appropriately. Let's move on. Okay, this is from Poke the Box. Not sure I'm being as clear as I could be. The relentless act of invention, innovation, initiative is the best marketing asset. Okay, it's like, the highlight is that really he's being the author. Like, they're being assertive over here, that emphasizing the point that invention, innovation, initiative, that's the best marketing asset. For organizations who want to build an edge, who want to show a difference. It's very quick. Again, let's move on. Originals. It takes more emotional energy and coping resources to deal with individuals who are inconsistent. Uh, yeah, I mean, we get that. They're talking. The author here is talking about individuals who are, you know, who essentially, I mean, who don't do what they say they do. And we all have friends like that, or I mean, of course, we behave that way sometimes. It's not, it's not like completely, like a it's not like completely others who do this. We do this sometimes as well. And the point here is that it takes a lot of emotional energy. If somebody says that they will be meeting you at a particular time and they don't, it takes a lot of coping resources to deal with that fact. Yeah, you sometimes you get used to somebody being late, and then you start adjusting your time. Okay, yeah, like, yeah, my friend is always late. So you'll start arriving 20 minutes late, or 2 hours late, depending on who your friends are. So yeah, again, the point is that it takes that energy, to deal with people like these. This is from Range. It isn't just the increase in new knowledge that generates opportunities for non-specialists, though. In a race to the forefront, a lot of useful knowledge is simply left behind to molder. That presents another kind of opportunity for those who want to create an invent but who cannot or simply do not want to work at the cutting edge. They can push forward by looking back. They can excavate old knowledge but wield it in a new way. So really, it's talking about the difference between specialists and generalists, and when specialists, they are focused, like deeply focused on one particular problem area, and they're just moving ahead trying to solve this problem. It presents an opportunity to not generalists, to like the highlight says, they can push forward by looking back. They can look at what was not covered, when the specialists were doing the thing, trying to go deep. um, what did they miss? Excavate old knowledge, but wield it in a different way. And that's the whole benefit. In the book highlights multiple examples. The benefit of being a generalist is that you find novel solutions. It's like this. We say that the best debugging tool is going for a walk. And I mean, yeah, there are a lot of things I can relate this to. But it's like, when you step away from a problem, and you're going for a walk, or you're taking a break, and the problem is there in the back of your mind. You're not really thinking about it, but it's there. And that's when the brain can form connections from other areas, other knowledge, and then it'll show you the way that, okay, by linking it to things that you previously did not think possible. uh, Another example, very quickly: peer reviews. In coding, we have this concept of peer reviews. If somebody does some work, you get it through a peer review. Or if you're stuck with something, you just go to your teammate and ask for help, in solving this. Or pair programming. There are dozens of examples like these. And all of it is by, all of these work by bringing another pair of eyes to look at the problem, who will, of course, who will look at the problem from a different experience and give you a different solution, solution you would never have considered before, because you were just too deep into a problem. And that's exactly the opportunity for non-specialists or generalists. Let's move on. Extreme ownership. A true leader is not intimidated when others step up and take charge. Leaders that lack confidence in themselves fear being outshined by someone else. If the team is successful, then if the team is successful, then recognition will come for those in charge. But a leader should not seek that recognition. A leader must be confident enough to follow someone else when the situation calls for it. Um, I think we are very familiar with this notion. It's not a surprise that it comes in a book called Extreme Ownership. It's really uh, it's like that saying, give credit away. It'll come back to you. And it's a job of, it's a part of being a manager or a leader on a team, that whatever credit comes your way, you give it to your team. It'll find its way to you. You don't have to worry about that. Like the thing says, a leader must be confident enough to follow someone else. No, not that. If the team is successful, the recognition will come for those in charge. It'll come in. You don't have to worry about it. Leader should not seek that recognition. If you're going after credit seeking, there are a lot of things you're doing wrong. I'll not go into that, but yeah, that's a discussion for another time. So yeah, again, this is very common nowadays in the era of servant leadership, or just like regular management nowadays. The culture has changed a lot since about 10 years back. Let's move on. This is from the book The Big Leap. Make a list of your upper limit behaviors. Here are some of the most common ones: worrying, blame, and criticism, getting sick or hurt, squabbling, hiding significant feelings, not keeping arguments, not speaking significant truths to the relevant people. If you're mad at John, he's the relevant person to talk to. It doesn't help to tell Fred that you're mad at John. Deflecting, brushing off compliments is a good example of deflecting. Okay, so this is actually a bullet list from the book, but I mean, in the highlight it came in this way. So upper limit behaviors are something that kind of stops you from going beyond. And like the whole concept of this book is, the genius zone. That's another book, by the way, but it covers the same thing here. So there is something that keeps you in the zone of excellence. It will not let you go to your zone of genius, and those are the upper limit behaviors. And like, these are some of the examples. Some of them are very, very obvious to understand, like worrying, blame, and criticism, and getting sick or hurt, squabbling, and all of that. Let's talk about deflecting a bit. So brushing off compliments is a good example of deflecting. So if you're being complimented for something, deep inside we don't feel that we deserve that, and we brush it off, saying that, yeah, okay, that's not really me. Or many people I know do this, so it's not it's not unheard of. And that, again, depending on how exactly you're deflecting, I'm not talking about modesty. And again, false modesty is a different discussion altogether. I'm not talking about modesty over here, or humility. Like, those are good attributes. Again, everything in moderation. But yeah, if you're brushing off compliments uh, in a way that you don't accept the compliments at all, that is an upper limit behavior. Okay, let's move on. The leadership challenge. Leadership knows no racial or religious bounds, no ethnic or cultural borders. Leaders reside in every city and every country, in every function and every organization. We find exemplary leadership everywhere we look. So it's not just like saying this, the authors are not just saying it, they actually did studies, they did studies in multiple countries and over a long period of time. I think maybe over 20 years or something like that. I don't remember. So it's really like, they came back with this, that leadership is not defined for certain group of people. There is no attribute like that. Everybody can be leaders. And this is mirrored in so many other books, like, for example, extreme ownership. We discussed about building leaders at all levels in your organization. They are leaders, and you treat them that way. If you're treating them as a hierarchical command and control structure, your organization is not going to get very far. So yeah, that's the highlight. Let's move on. Again, extreme ownership. Although discipline demands control and asceticism, it actually results in freedom. When you have the discipline to get up early, you're rewarded with more free time. When you have the discipline to keep your helmet and body armor on in the field, you become accustomed to it, and you can move freely in it. The more discipline you have to work out, train your body physically, and become stronger, the lighter your gear feels and the easier you can move around it. We came across this discussion a bit, some time back, about how constraints actually help the creative process, or how discipline actually frees you up. So I don't want to repeat a lot of that discussion over here. It's in one of the earlier videos, again, from the same book, Extreme Ownership. But yeah, the quote says it all, that it feels like, okay, you're giving up freedom when you're being disciplined about something. Like, you have to work out, but you're actually gaining freedom. You can, the lighter your gear feels and the easier you can move around in it. And that's the ironic thing. You would conventionally, you would think creativity is no bounds. Like, just leave me alone, just give me unlimited time, unlimited resources, I'll build something creative. That's not how creativity works. That's like a right ground for perfectionism and procrastination. It is, creativity works within bounds. Yeah, it works best if you set the bounds yourself, or if you understand the business context and set the bounds that way. Yeah, of course that's there, but again, it needs bounds. You can't have something unlimited and hope it works out. Kind of reminds me of this, episode in Seinfeld, when George and Jerry, they're going to this NBC, and they're proposing a show about nothing, and George is insistent, like, it's about nothing, nothing, it's nothing. But of course, it's like, the show gets accepted, right? Yeah, okay, that's another story, that it does not move beyond the pilot. But like, something about nothing just doesn't work. There are bounds. There is something there. Like, Jerry keeps insisting. It's not about nothing. It's there is something. But George, no, nothing. Anyway, it's like a light note on that. Let's move on. Team topologies. The collaboration team mode is suitable where a high degree of adaptability or discovery is needed, particularly when exploring new technologies or techniques. The collaboration interaction mode is good for rapid discovery of new things, because it avoids costly handoffs between teams. So, there are in the book, that there are description of different team modes, different kinds of team, and so team mode is how a team is going to interact with other teams or within itself. And so this team mode, collaboration, and it works with team styles of I'm forgetting the name. So it works with certain team styles, and like the highlight gives the example that it's suitable where a high degree of adaptability or discovery is needed. So it contrasts with other team modes, like X as a service, for example. That's not collaboration. That is like, platform teams, for example, provide something as a service, some functionality as a service. Like, for example, you have platforms as a service today. That's a classical definition of a platform team, and providing services through this X as a service model. And this isn't I mean, of course, the collaboration team mode is a different area where a lot of high degree of adaptability or discovery is needed, and this happens with things like subsystem, complicated subsystem teams and everything. Again, I think I'm mixing up a few things over here. It's been a while, but I think I should just kind of recap on those things. But let's move on for now. It's the last highlight bonus one. It's not how to use readwise today. So I just quickly give it a look. That's was proposition of not certain and okay, yeah, I mean, it's a nice quote, so I'll just read it out. As far as the propositions of mathematics refer to reality, they're not certain. And as far as they're certain, they do not refer to reality. Albert Einstein. So, I mean, it's an Albert Einstein quote. I'm familiar with it. That's why, I mean, I don't know how they're using it in the book. But yeah, it's it's a fun thing. It's like mathematics likes to keep things simple. There are so many jokes that, okay, how do you measure or how do you predict what a dolphin is going to do? Like, the first thing is, okay, let's assume that dolphin is a perfect sphere. So jokes like that all around. So physics deals with or mathematics, physics, and they deal with things in kind of like a pure notion of the sense. And anyway, it's yeah. I mean, let's just skip. Not a lot of time today. All right, so we're at the end um, of our highlights today. Thanks for watching. Again, I know I was being very quick today, but for the introduction, like why am I doing this? One of any of the like especially the first video in the series that can give you some insight into, if you're curious, why am I doing this. But for now, have a good day.